Picture a farm, rolling green fields, a little farmhouse, and a barn. What color is the barn? Yeah, red. It's always red. Not blue, not green, not a tasteful beige, red. And we accept it the way we accept the sky being blue. But nobody actually chose it. There's no law, no barn committee. So why is basically every old barn the exact same color? Here's the twist. The farmers who built these barns weren't choosing a color at all. They were trying to stop the wood from rotting. Welcome to But Why Though? Bare wood left out in the weather is on a countdown. Rain, sunlight, mold, and fungus slowly break it down. So farmers needed something to protect it. But 200 years ago, you couldn't just drive to a hardware store and buy exterior paint. If you wanted to preserve your barn, you had to make the coating yourself. The base was usually linseed oil, pressed from flax seeds, which soaked into the wood and hardened into a tough, water-resistant layer. Cheap, effective, done. But farmers wanted that coating to last even longer and help fight mold and decay. So they mixed in whatever affordable materials they could find. One of the most common was iron oxide, the same compound that gives rust its reddish color. Here's the surprising part. Iron oxide wasn't just cheap, it was incredibly durable. Unlike many early pigments that faded in sunlight or washed away over time, iron oxide stayed bright for years while helping protect the wood underneath. It just happened to come in one very familiar color, red. And that was that. Nobody picked the color. The cheapest, toughest way to protect a wooden barn simply happened to be red. And here's the funny part. Farmers weren't trying to make their barns look alike. They simply used the cheapest ingredients they could get their hands on. Since iron oxide was abundant almost everywhere and worked so well, thousands of farmers, without ever coordinating, ended up painting their barns the same familiar shade of red. Over time, practicality became tradition. Every farmer copied the same recipe, so every new barn looked like the last one. Before long, people stopped asking why barns were red. That's just what a barn was supposed to look like. By the time factory-made paint became cheap and available in almost every color, red had already become part of the countryside. Farmers could finally paint their barns blue, white, yellow, or green. Instead, they bought red paint. Not because they had to, because that's what a barn looked like. The classic red barn wasn't designed by an architect or chosen by a trend. It started as a homemade wood preservative, mixed with one of the most common minerals on Earth, and accidentally became an icon. So it's not just a style, it's 200 years of practical chemistry, painted across the countryside.